look at some slides or have some underpinning knowledge about the task that we're going to do this morning. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the theory behind the practice, and then you're going to work in groups to do certain tasks, and then we'll all get back together again and discuss it. But one of the key buzzwords, if you like, or key ways of learning or discovering what you've learned is reflection. Are you familiar with reflective writing? I know some of you, a lot of you probably will be already. Is that you think back on what you've done, a particular task or a situation or how you handled something, and you follow a circle to say, what is it that you learned from that experience? Is there anything that you do next time? You might, if you decided to do something a little bit deeper, you might see what other people have done and start looking at papers and things like that. And I explain it to you probably in a little bit more detail, but that's a good explanation. Revisiting what you've done to see what it is you've learned from it. So you're naturally, it's called a bit like CQI, continuous quality improvement. So you're constantly changing and tweaking and finding out not just more about the task, but a little bit more about yourself as well. And you analyse what it is that you do. And you have to have an action plan at the end, because if you've learned something but you don't do anything about it, then that really isn't an action plan. That's where a lot of reflective accounts fail, actually, or not fail but fall down, is that we'll read a reflective account, we think, right, they've obviously learned from that, they understand what it is, but then they don't go on to say, so as a result of this, what I'm now going to do is wash my hands more often, or perhaps not shout at a patient, or whatever it is, or kick the dentist under the chair or something. Okay. So that's a little bit of a sort of an explanation of what it is really. Demonstrate in your own words, okay, your understanding of a situation and your ability to improve on things, okay? So you might need to seek out some ways that you need to improve on it. So that might mean looking up some articles, talking to other people, maybe even getting a further qualification. It depends on what it is that you're reflecting upon. And that's just a diagram that we love at Well, a really, really good one to do is a significant event analysis. Have you ever done anything like that? Some of you might have in your practice where something either goes very well, and that's a significant event in some practices, or something that hasn't gone very well, and then you have to write a report on that. Typical thing would be, what? What would you term as a significant event in your practice? Yeah, wrong dentures coming back from the lab. Yeah, that's pretty significant. Yeah, the technicians amongst you will have some input on that, I'm sure. Yeah, that's a biggie, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, it would be more significant if you didn't realise that, but that's significant. Yeah. Any other significant events you can think of?
A medical emergency.
Yeah, medical emergency is a big one. Hopefully it doesn't happen to us that often, but when it does, that has a major impact on not just the patient, obviously, but on the rest of the team. And how you deal with that now, you have to write a report on that. That's a form of reflective writing, but that probably has a very, very big action plan at the end of it. And it's sometimes called a CIA, or a critical incident event analysis as well. Okay. The research element of this is very important actually, and Professor Ken Eaton's going to talk a little bit later and to let you know about the research day that's coming up for DCPs at the faculty. And once you start to get into research as a dental care professional, it's a very, very exciting field to be in, because you start to think, oh, I did that, I wonder if somebody else has done it, and what they found out about it. So you'll start to begin to search papers to back up your theories of what it is you're actually saying. Okay. Anybody familiar with that? No? Do you always pick the tasks that you like doing first of all when you're doing something? Yeah. Are you big list makers? Yeah. Many of my DCP friends are list makers. I even have a couple of friends who make a list of things to do, and they also write on the list things they've already done so they can get the satisfaction of crossing them off. So that gives you a good feeling. Try that one, it works for me anyway. So if I can think of something I'm enjoying doing, it doesn't feel like work. At the moment I've got an essay due in August, and my mentor and tutor's laughing at me at the back because he's supervising it. And it's a 5,000 word essay, and I've developed over the past few months you could use the key skills. So it means that some of the work that you might have already have done would be useful. So if you've had to write new policies or new pieces of evidence on teamwork and infection control, medical emergencies, health and safeties, I bet you could adapt those to fit some of the learning objectives. Big time. Okay, we're going to take a look, as I say, at the reflection and key skill, because that one to me is the easiest one to start off with, and it's the one I told you now, you don't have to remember. You could look at the packs and talk to Sandra and the team behind, at the back of the room. So this particular key skill has 4 learning objectives, and you do need a couple of resources to help you. But the biggest resource and where you'll get most of your evidence and draw most of your ideas from is the good old GDC standards. Yeah? Everybody's got a copy of these, haven't they? Hanging around on your shelf, yeah? They were the ones that Marnie said right at the start of the day that are due to be reviewed. In fact, they're being reviewed as we speak. But at the moment, this is our little Bible, if you like. And in the bags on the side of your chair, you'll each have one of these if you don't have to carry them around with you in your handbag on a daily basis, and I think you're in the wrong room if you decide to do that, but I brought some extra copies anyway. So this is what you're going to need in a minute, because this is going to be where you're going to decide to help start you to take the evidence from. So the reflection practice, as I say, this probably would be the one that I'd start off with if I was going to do it, and I don't think many people in the country have got this particular key skill. Am I right, Sandra?
Yeah.
No. In fact, there's nobody. Sandra tells me there's no DCP in the country yet who has successfully obtained a key skill in reflective writing. So anybody coming forward at the moment would be a pioneer, really. The system has been tested and the assessors have done part of it, so it's tried and tested, but there's nobody yet been awarded a certificate. So you've got some scrap paper, so start to pop some bits of notes down on there, and also Anita came round and she gave you a little appendix. Could I just have that a second? Thanks. Great, thank you. Okay. What Anita did was she came and she photocopied and she handed these out in the past few minutes, and those are the notes, if you like, of how to do it. So we don't just give you the objective, we give you some ideas behind it. So this particular one, you'd be looking at Appendix 2, yeah? So this is the learning objective that you're going to have a go at, yeah? And the appendix is Appendix 2, and it tells you a little bit about how you might like to start thinking of preparing it. So have a little look, have a discussion together, remember what Marnie said about working as a team, and we'll come round and give you a hand. Thanks for that. So Appendix 2 is what you're looking at. Yeah. Or to number 5 in here, you can see where the learning objective comes from. So number 5 says, maintain your professional knowledge and competence. So that was the bedrock, really, of where CPD came from. So that's the GDC's objective. So that's what you would begin to think about. Yeah? I'll come around with your hand. In the pack that talks about referencing. And referencing really is to show the assessors that you have got your body of evidence from somewhere. So you're not writing something and trying to own it, or plagiarism, if you like, that sort of thing. And it allows also other people to learn from your work. So if I read that you've written something and it was informed by a paper that you read in the BDJ, I might think, oh, I'd quite like to go and have a look at that paper and see what it says. So it allows, it's like a guide really to show where your evidence has come from. Answers almost of what it is you need to do. We haven't ever issued a guideline without behind that telling you how to go about it. Your presentation is quite important, and if you can lift the work by using some photographs, some copies of policies, some practice meeting agendas, something that shows it is what you do in your own practice. Items that are relevant. This is quite an important one, really. Sometimes in the past we'll have somebody will include the whole of the GDC pack in it. I don't really need that because I know about it, and if you've referenced it, I don't need it. So don't include things that, if you like, don't make any sense and that are just used to pad the portfolio out. If you're going to talk about a patient, and if you were doing the key skill on record keeping, you would be expected to include anonymised copies of your patient record. So you know about confidentiality and data protection and things, so you wouldn't want to open a portfolio and see a patient's name there. So that's quite obvious. And a big alarm bell goes off. Believe me, it does. Okay. A critical incident form is brilliant, and that is included in the faculty pack. And if you're not used to reflective writing, use a critical incident form and then take the headings out. And that will make sense when you come to look through it, because a critical incident form follows the reflective cycle. So the first few times I did reflective writing, I used that form and then I just wiped the headings out, and I found I had a reflective cycle, and that's very, very useful. I always include reflection and always reference your work. Okay. So the marking descriptors are really what the assessors use to mark your work. And in every pack, and I've got a couple blown up here, will be a set of what the markers are looking for. So you're not, if you like, submitting your work blind. You should be able to look at these marking descriptors and think, is my work hitting that? Okay, so that you would want to aim for the middle ground. And it's difficult for me to show you these here at the front, so what I'm going to do is leave them at the front, and I'd ask you to have a good look at them. I do need them back at the end, if that's okay, but you can have a look and think, am I making the pass? The pass is the middle ground, okay? Here you never want to be on this side, because that's resubmission, okay? You want to really aim for distinction. And there's nothing like having a distinction, is there, on a piece of work? You feel fantastic, don't you? So you might want to aim for the middle ground, but if I was you, I'd be gearing over towards the left-hand side here. And you'll be able to look at your work and review it and think, have I met the learning outcome? What's the objective here? Have I hit that left-hand side column? So come and have a look at these in the break or the rest of the day, so you'll be able to have a good idea of where your level of work is. So they're not hidden from you. You'll be able to see how the assessors assess your work. Okay. So the wobbles or the issues that you might have at the moment, I'm guessing from around the room, is it's quite a big subject area, isn't it? We started off the morning by most of you not really knowing what the key skills are. And not only have we pushed you into that very quickly, you've had to write your 100 words, and you've had to start writing something that meets the learning objectives. So it's quite a steep learning curve. I'd advise you to go away, look at the packs, as I say, talk to the people here today, and if you're really interested in going ahead and doing it, do it now, I think, before it's too late. Okay, this is you, okay, when you go back, because you probably will be a bit scared and not know where to start. And again, I'll probably give you my email, so if you want to ask any questions, you can, we can set up a little bit of a chat room, and you can do that with me if you like. Why have I got a topless, hunky guy on a is it Tuesday today? On a Tuesday morning. Okay, what's he doing? What's happening there? He's reflecting, yeah. Okay, it's a reflection, okay? So you never leave reflection out of your work, whatever key skill you do. Okay, key skill and reflection is all about reflection, but you never leave that aspect out of your work. So you don't want to just make it a standalone theory. You need to think about it and to show the examiners that you've thought how you've moved from A to B. So you absolutely never leave that out. Okay. Any questions? I will probably not take at this stage now, in case I go into the next person's presentation. What's next, John?
It's Marnie and myself.
Marnie and yourself, okay. But I will be around for the whole of the day, as will the other assessors and the faculty. So if there's anything that you need to ask or need help with, you can ask us. But take it this morning that you've done quite a good chunk of the first reflection. You've started to put together, and as I was coming around the table, some very good ideas of one of the learning objectives, and you've written your 100 words, so you'd be crazy not to go ahead, I think.